that there has been delay in investigations. What there has been is that we believe this is a very complicated crime. There could have been other people beyond the 5 who may have been responsible, but we are yet to establish any direct or circumstantial evidence, people. But for the 5, Honorable Speaker, we have a watertight murder case against the 5.
And from the Senate, we cross over to County Hall right here in the capital, Nairobi, where under fire, Agriculture CS Mythical Linturi's currently impeachment motion is currently being undertaken. Let's first of all listen in.
That through the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KBC, confirmed that fake subsidized fertilizer known as GPC plus organics packaged in 25 kg bags or circulating the market, and as such, farmers were likely to have been sold fake fertilizer, which was being distributed by government through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. Attached here is a copy of printed article. And this was indeed confirmed by KBC, a government agency, that there was fake fertilizer. And the third person I would want you to invite, perhaps the committee, is the CEO of KBC, who was invited by the Committee of Agriculture and gave us very serious submissions, confirming what the minister initially denied, that there was fake fertilizer on the market.
So, Mr. Omboka, just to get a clear picture, you're confirming that this fertilizer was in the country?
Yes, indeed, as confirmed by serious government agencies.
And the same was being procured from NCPB?
NCPB, a national government agency where members of the public must trust. If today you told a member of the public, go and purchase your fertilizer from a wholesale or national cereals, they should trust government. They would trust government. Their only mistake, Madam Chair, the only mistake the members of public did was to trust the government, and therefore a government agency called National Cereals and Produce Board, which sits under the minister, Franklin Mitika Linturi, who shall take responsibility for that matter, because the ball stops at his feet.
So, Mr. Omboka, you're addressing the committee and saying that the person directly responsible is the CS, Mr. Linturi.
He is responsible because there are several letters written by the PS. And that is why, Madam Chair, we insist you invite the PS in good time so that he can own up these letters, so that they can point squarely at the minister. Most, if not all, of these letters were copied to Honorable Mitika Linturi. So he cannot feign ignorance. Point of order.
And those are live pictures from the county hall where the hearing for the impeachment of CS Mythical Linturi is currently underway, as you can see. But what do we know so far is the Select Committee has ruled on the preliminary objections on whether the committee had the powers to investigate the CS, which the chair, Naomi Wako, has stated that the Select Committee has a constitutional mandate to carry out the exercise. And there were requests for having the PS, the Agriculture PS, to appear, but the committee has said, indeed, if there is more evidence adduced, then they can be able to summon that. We're keeping tabs with that. My colleague Abdi Aziz Hashim is currently on that weighty matter. But let's take a look at the current flood situation in the country, where survivors of the Mai Mahiu floods tragedy now want the government to resettle them away from their former homes for fear of the tragedy reoccurring. The death toll now hitting 62 and over 30 people still missing. The families called on the government to hasten the resettlement exercise, saying life in the camp was becoming unbearable.
John Jogu, one of the survivors who lost his personal belongings, including rental houses, said they are still in fear following the floods and they would not wish to be resettled in the same land that their kin perished.
Nikwambia ukweli kabisa, huku hakuna mtu anaweza rudi. Sababu kama hiyo area yangu, watu wamekufa watu 9. Wengine hawajaonekana. Sasa sijui serikali itachukua hatua gani ndio ituondoe huku. Hakuna mtu anaweza enda huku.
David Karanja, another survivor, called on the government to carry out expert assessment before any resettlement was done to avoid another disaster.
Yule mtu anaweza onekana anaweza rudi, mtu arudi at least. Ndio at least mtu endelee na maisha yake. Juu kulingana na hiyo maji vile ilikuja, haikuwa maji ya mto, ni maji ya kufungiwa huko juu. Kama serikali iko na uwezo wote kutengeneza hizo vitu za reli, hizo zinafunga maji, sisi tunaweza furahi, hiyo vitu siangaliwe.
Evangelist Lucy Ngonjiri, who has hosted some of the displaced persons in her prayer center in Maimahio, said many of the victims have been traumatized and need counseling support following the ordeal.
They brought all these people. Now they have a safe haven here. They can be here for 3 months, 4 months, whichever months they want, because it was initially to be a prayer center. So when these people are here, they are praying.
Give us Minor, Lunchtime News.
And still on climate matters, lack of awareness and sensitization are some of the bottlenecks hindering climate mitigation efforts in the country. Dr. Caroline Mulinya, a climatologist and lecturer, notes that the emergency response to the perennial drought and flooding witnessed in the region could be better managed if people were better informed on environmental conservation.
The issue of flooding is not yet ready to be declared as a disaster, though it is disastrous, but I believe this is an issue that can be handled with much ease that it deserves. Because as per now, as much as we have lost lives and even about 160,000 people have been displaced, I don't think at the moment it's worth declaring a disaster, because this is something that I think if we put in measures that are good enough, then we can be able to mitigate and be able to come to terms with what is happening now. 15 billion trees is not a main achievement, and I hope and pray that if this can be done, then this is actually going to alleviate the issue of climate change, because, you know, trees become forests, and forests are actually carbon sequesters. So the moment we can be able to balance the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, then we'll be able to sequester carbon dioxide, and essentially we'll minimize the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, of which carbon dioxide is one of them. And in the recent past, carbon dioxide has really caused a menace in the atmosphere. So if we can be able to plant these trees and they can be able to absorb the carbon dioxide, then we are good to go. And I really want to implore on all Kenyans to take this matter of planting trees with the seriousness that it deserves. If all of us put in our energies and strength and we are planting trees every other day, then we can be able to, you can be sure this is achievable. But policies are as good as they are implemented. If we just have policies and they're kept in the library on the shelf somewhere, then nothing to sing home about. We have to put these policies and implement them to the latter. The solutions come from us. Let us have local solutions to solve global problems. Let us not expect somebody from somewhere to give us the solutions. The solutions will come from us Kenyans.
Away from that, a section of households in Sagama, Nyatike sub-county who had filed 8 cases in the Land Acquisition Tribunal demanding compensation from the National Irrigation Authority will know their fate next month. Chairman of the Land Ownership Court, Nabil Orina, says his team will analyze the situation of the land in question and the report issued by complainants on the same before reaching a decision. Orina spoke after assessing the said land in Nyatike.
The claim by the farmers is that we developed this gully. And on our side, we know that this gully has been formed here from natural stormwater. It is not irrigation water. So the tribunal visited us here today to do a site visit so that they can have a clear view of whatever is happening here at this scheme before they make their judgment.
Actually, what happened was during the infrastructural works which were done by NEA, there were some canals which were dug and they were made across the storm drains. So when the flash floods were coming, they were blocked, and instead they started eating back onto people's lands. So they have destroyed a lot of land.
Let's make a shift to security matters, where police in Rongo, Migori County, have launched an investigation into the murder of a security guard at Rongo Primary School. The victim, identified as Johnson Okach, who was on duty when unidentified individuals broke into the school premises. Confirming the incident, Rongo Sub-County Police Commander Salon Fundi says that the investigation is ongoing, vowing to apprehend the culprits. Several computers were stolen during the incident in the sixth security guard murder to occur in Migori County of the past 3 years.
Na pia tukathibitisha kwamba aligongwa na mawe katika moja ya vyumba vya shule. Wasiogope, vile tumesema tumeweka mikakati, na pia ningependa watusaidie na information, habari yoyote ambayo watatusaidia nayo, itatusaidia katika planning ili tuhakikishe kwamba wananchi wako salama.
Barabara wamekuwa wakiuawa sana, so ninaweza kusema ya kwamba hali ya usalama si nzuri katika mji wa Rongo.
This is the time that our security agencies from the top should come back at the ground within Rongo and have some meeting with the local police officers who are here.
Kennedy Ogalo Osano, a driver for the Kasipur National Government Constituency Development Fund, was arraigned in Homa Bay Law Court for the alleged murder of Evans Okoda, a bouncer in Oyugis Town, Homa Bay County. In his testimony, Rachonyo South Sub-County Criminal Investigations Officer David Kirio says Osano's phone call data links him to the murder. Okoda was found dead in the compound of his rented house in Oyugis Town last Friday. The 35-year-old man had serious injuries to the head, and his right fingers were chopped off at the wrist. Oyugis resident magistrate Cynthia Cheruyot has given DCI 7 more days to continue holding the suspect as investigations are underway. In Homa Bay, over 20 contractors who work with the Homa Bay County government have told the administration to pay them their pending bill worth 870 million shillings. The contractors and suppliers, led by their chairman, Collins Omito, said the county government had failed to pay for labor and goods since the year 2013. They have issued a 14-day notice for payment of the dues, failure to which they will halt ongoing projects.
All monies meant to pay historical pending bills had been disbursed to counties. We've not had counties dispute this. We've not even had governors dispute this. Yes. Right. With regard to this ongoing threats to our businesses, I therefore wish to issue a 14-day strike notice to the county government of Homa Bay.
In other news, the government has been urged to set aside a special fund to help children who require to undergo cochlear implant surgeries. The calls have been made by businessman Njue Wairato, who has embarked on a journey by road to South Africa, seeking to raise at least 5 million shillings geared towards supporting children who have disabling hearing loss. Njue, who will be driving the entire journey, further advised parents to have their babies screened at birth so that they do not end up missing out on available interventions.
All over the journey, I will be giving people opportunity to raise, and I will be telling them how much I have raised when I'm in Dodoma, how much I have raised when I'm in Zambia, so that when I'm coming back, the funds will be enough. Cochlear implant is very costly even in Kenya, because 1 year is 2.5 million. So it is very costly, but if I can make to treat only 2 children, I'll be very happy.
And still on health matters, the first end-to-end rapid diagnostic test kit manufacturing facility with the capacity to supply 240 million test kits has been launched in Kilifi County. Revital Healthcare, flagship founded by a Kenyan in partnership with the United States through USAID, which invested more than $2 million, is the largest manufacturer of medical equipment in Africa, exporting to over 30 countries across the world. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha said the facility will reduce cost of medical equipment which were previously imported. United States Ambassador to Kenya Meg Whitman, Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro, and Rajni Vola, the Director of Revital Healthcare, hailed the project that is empowering a diverse workforce in Kenya, with over 80% of its 650 employees being women.
Hizi kits ambazo zinatengenezwa hapa, syringes ambazo zinatengenezwa hapa, zinatumika Kenya, zinatumika Afrika na zinaenda nchi yote. Kwa hivyo kiwanda ni cha muhimu sana kuhakikisha kwanza bei ya products inateremka.
By producing 240 million rapid diagnostic test kits annually, we will significantly increase affordability and accessibility of critical tests for HIV, malaria, hepatitis B, C, syphilis, and range of other diseases.
The first of its kind in Kenya is such a game changer. What Revital did is, by bringing cutting-edge technology and local expertise together under one roof, Revital is not just producing essential diagnostic tests, they're rewriting the script on what's possible when it comes to expanding access to quality healthcare in Africa.
So our aim is affordability, accessibility, and that is the reason why Revital has rewritten the history books of Africa by being the first manufacturer in Africa to send syringes to India. We have never heard of an African-based manufacturer sending syringes to India.
Now, President William Ruto has announced the reopening of schools on Monday next week, the 13th May 2024. The president, who was meeting leaders from Kajiado and Laikipia County, said analysis of the weather situation in the country has been undertaken, which has informed the directive to have schools reopen. The president has also instructed legislators to prioritize reconstruction of schools in their respective constituencies. President suspended the reopening of schools for the second time last week due to the flooding situation that has swept through the country.
All parents are advised on the assessment of weathermen and on the assessment of the government of Kenya. It will now be safe, and we have made adequate arrangements. We have asked members of parliament, and we have provided resources through the NGCDF for repair of classrooms and other facilities, learning facilities across Kenya, and therefore all schools will be opened on Monday next week, and therefore parents must prepare their children to go to school.
Let's now tilt the lens and focus on business. The Kenya Institute of Supplies Management has rolled out training for procurement and supply chain managers on how to leverage technology to flag and fight public procurement fraud. The Institute of Supplies Management CEO Kenneth Matiba says the training targets to equip professionals with skills to tackle emerging schemes used to defraud public institutions.
We cannot have a blind eye to issues of artificial intelligence, for example, or blockchain technologies, for example, yet that is where the global community is moving to. And that's one of the things that I've already encouraged our members to embrace, and we're already curating programs that will be able to talk to that particular need and niche in our supply chain industry. Beyond that, also, we are trying to ensure that we come up with programs which are tailor-made for specific sectors, so that we are holistic. We are not only handling public sector, we are also handling the private sector.
And in other news, Kirinyaga Slopes Coffee Brokerage Company Limited has been granted full license status as a coffee broker at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. The firm had previously been conditionally licensed by the Capital Markets Authority CMA to operate as a coffee broker at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange.
The Capital Markets Authority says Kirinyaga Slopes Coffee Brokerage Company Limited has satisfied all the requirements of the Capital Markets Act and Capital Markets Coffee Exchange Regulations 2020. In addition, CMA has granted Coffee Estates Budgetary Brokers Limited a conditional license valid for 6 months to operate as a coffee broker subject to full compliance with the Capital Markets Act and Coffee Exchange Regulations. The two firms are among 5 firms given the green light by the Capital Markets Authority to operate in the industry in different capacities in the latest move to deepen and develop the capital markets. Team Watch Advisory Services has been licensed as an investment advisor, whereas IC Markets Kenya Limited has been licensed to operate as a non-dealing online foreign exchange broker. GTXN Investments Limited is approved to carry on the business of a fund manager. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
Local content producers should explore streaming service platforms to showcase their productions and earn from it. Showmark's General Manager for East Africa, Emma Geshonge, is advising content creators to make productions that can easily be accessed via smart devices that are increasingly preferred platforms for consumers.
The local producers, the casts, and all related stakeholders to make content. It means we are looking out for more stories to tell, which means we are expecting to see more from our content producers and all stakeholders in the TV and film industry. We are looking at an increase in production of local Kenyan content, over 150% increase in local production, which translates into 1,300 hours.
Now, the government is prioritizing budgetary allocations to sectors that impact most Kenyans, such as education and agriculture. National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairperson Didi Nyoro says that this year's budget will see the country's lowering budget deficit by up to 2.9%. Take a look.
High budget deficit in recent years saw the country opt to borrow to plug the gap. However, National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairperson Dinyoro says the government is rationalizing public spending by prioritizing sectors that impact most Kenyans, such as healthcare and education.
Vile tumefanya ni kupunguza kidogo pesa ya recurrent, kupunguza kidogo pesa ya development, kwa sababu udhabiti na msingi ya nchi kama kiuchumi iko na manufaa sana kwa Wakenya wote.
Njue says the target is to reduce budget deficit and public debt by ensuring that Kenya relies on internal resources to finance government spending.
We have brought down the amount of deficit or the amount of money we anticipate to borrow because we want to walk the talk of borrowing less and relying more on our own internal resources.
Speakers at the inaugural annual conference for the Economist Society of Kenya underscored the role of professionals in proposing how counties can come up with their own revenue generation strategies.
This is a very good step for the economists and professionals in terms of coming up with a policy directions to support the national government in terms of economic growth and also focusing on areas of production.
Edna Murungi for Lunchtime News.
But we are at about 25 minutes past the top of the hour. We are due for our first break, but when we come back, we still have more business news. Then I will take you through the Champions League actions last night and also what to expect later on this night.
والله بقولكم هدي ما قعدت لي جيران بعشرة كفرنها
بقولكم هدي ما أنت ليسي ما دام حل الرباط للجوج أنا كم يدهي دلنجرة كوالان اسمه ملكنا ويشار إنه وحصار كوالان كصارن بيره
leo hii nikipewa shilingi 1100 ya Kenya ningempatia mama ajisaidie naye kwa hiyo kiasi kidogo. Biashara ya kuuza sukari, mboga, vitu kama hiyo, viazi.
والله waxyaalo lagu qaban karo iska badan tahay maadaama aan dhalinyaro nahay boqolkun hadda iska yarto waxyaalo weyn lagu qaban karin laakiin gobolka waqooyi bari gaar ahaan magaalada Toojeer inta badan wax ka dhaqaqa waxa weeye xoolaha iyo ergado waxyaalahaas aan ku qaban lahaa beeshare
wallahi boqolkun oo Kenya hadii iminkan waqtigan sixir bararka u jiro hadii la siiyo waxyaalo fara badan baa jiro khaasatan inaan gelin karo ma aragtay investment ama dhul lagu gadi karo dhulkaasna uu appreciate gareyn karo waqti muddo dheer oo dhulkaas maartay noqon doono dhul boqolkii lagu gado ma 300 ama 400 ama 500 kun lagu gadi karo
Watch the Mozartbet Cup as teams from both the top tier and low tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final, and the final. Mozartbet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Mpenzi mtazamaji wa runinga unayoipenda ya KBC Channel 1.
Over the years, we have been at the forefront of broadcast trends to bring you the best of news, entertainment,
how high end are we speaking?
And sports.
Thank you for joining us.
You have the power to take your favorite broadcaster to the top. KBC Channel 1 has been nominated in the TV Station of the Year category in the 7th edition of the Kuza ICT Awards.
Favorite TV station.
To vote for KBC via SMS, simply use the short code 15601 and follow the prompts at no cost. Or visit www.kuzaawards.co.ke and follow the registration instructions to vote. KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
Welcome back and many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Moving on, those in leadership positions, whether in public or private institutions, should embrace mentorship to be coached on how to make bold decisions that have a bigger impact. This is according to BCA Leadership CEO Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, who believes most of those in leadership positions fear making tough decisions. Dr. Modupe spoke to Betty Kiptum about how to inspire leaders to take risks, and this is how that conversation went.
Hello and thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. It is now time for an interactive session, and we'd like to talk about why bold leadership matters in moving the African continent forward and ensuring that Africa achieves its goals. And to have this conversation is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, who is the Chief Executive Officer of BCA Leadership. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Betty.
Welcome. I hope you're enjoying your stay in Nairobi.
Oh, I love Kenya.
Right.
It always feels like home to come back to the capital of East Africa.
This is the cradle of mankind, you know. Right. So tell us about the conference that you're planning to host, and especially just start with an introduction of who BCA Leadership is.
Sure. So BCA Leadership is a Pan-African leadership enhancement organization. We exist to support organizations and companies to be successful, and we provide the vitamins that every leader needs. That is peer learning, we provide coaching, we provide networking, and we provide consulting services. Because what we have come to realize in Africa is that many of our leaders in Africa don't have access to services that support them in raising their awareness of the world around them and of themselves, their strengths and weaknesses, so that they can make optimal decisions. And in the process, if you don't make optimal decisions, then you don't achieve the vision. So we exist to support organizations and companies in Africa to achieve success.
Achieving success. Talk to us about the Bold Actions for Bold Results conference.
So the Made in Africa Leadership Conference is in its 6th edition. We've been doing this since 2019, where we started it in Kigali, Rwanda. We've hosted it in Lusaka and Accra, and this year we're excited to bring it to Nairobi. And the theme of the conference is Making Africa Work for Africans, Bold Actions for Bold Results. Now, why did we choose that theme? Because we have come to the realization that much of what keeps African organizations and companies from achieving success is fear. Sometimes the leaders are afraid of expanding, afraid of moving into new territories, afraid of taking tough actions. And what we seek to do in this conference is we're going to inspire people by bringing people who have done it. And we're going to inspire them to see that it is possible. So we have some guest speakers who will come, whether it's in the area of agriculture, or in the area of technology, or in the area of banking, or even in the area of public service, who are going to share about how they have taken bold actions to achieve bold results. And we make sure that our delegates spend more time in small groups, engaging with the guest speakers and learning from each other, so that it really is a learning conference.
All right. I'd like to hear from you. Africa has been, for a long time, producing for the rest of the world. And a lot of, even the brains are, exported to other countries across the world. What are your thoughts in terms of ensuring that as we make Africa work for Africans, we are growing Africa with its people?
I love the fact that you've alluded to the brain drain of Africa. And this is one of the reasons why we have had poverty in Africa, because the professional class have often been recruited to go and work in other countries. And one of the realities of life is that the teams who have the best players usually win, whether it is in football, like Real Madrid or Barcelona, or it is in business. So the companies that have the smartest, most capable employees will usually win. And the same thing happens for countries. Now, why do those professionals want to go to other countries? Because they have better leadership. because it is the leaders who create the structures under which the people can then maximize their talent. And that's why we are addressing the issue of leadership right here in Africa, because we know that the leaders of companies, of organizations, of parastatals in Africa can and want to do better and will do better when they are given the support in the form of the services that they need in order to make better decisions. And that can start at the Made in Africa Leadership Conference.
Africa has been said to have a lot on paper. We have a lot of conferences, we come up with a lot of bills and acts, and they're all just seated somewhere. Implementation is the problem. So how do you ensure that the conversations that happen during this conference go beyond just talk to implementation?
Indeed. One of the realities that we have to come to and be confessed to is the fact that we have had loads of conferences, and many of the Pan-African conferences, unfortunately, tend to be actually organized by non-Africans for us. So this is a conference that is organized by African leaders for African leaders. And it is different from your typical conference in a number of ways. Because number one, we minimize the amount of time that you spend in a large auditorium speaking to a global speaker who will wow you with his or her knowledge. Because in those auditoriums, there is one-way communication. And that topic may or may not speak to your particular problem. Whereas at the Made in Africa Leadership Conference, we maximize the time spent in small groups. We divide the delegates into groups of 30 and 40. And at any time, there will be 6 of these rooms or learning labs happening, each with a guest speaker. So you as a delegate can attend the session whose topic speaks to your particular need, because that is our promise, that you will leave this conference having found the solution to at least one of the problems that holds back your organization from success. And this is how we do it.
Right. Technology is the driver of the world right now. And of course, Africa has to position itself in a place where it can compete, you know, with the rest of the world. How important is technology for Africa moving forward?
Well, I don't think I would be shocking everybody if I said it is very important. But here's the key. You see, technology is an accelerator. It is a tool. I'm reminded of the first time that I bought a cell phone for my mother. And about a year after having bought it, I discovered that she had left it in her bedroom nicely wrapped. Now, the purpose of the cell phone was for her to be able to communicate better and improve her life. But if I didn't invest in time in her, in getting her to appreciate, understand, utilize, and leverage that technology, then it was just a tool that sat there. And many times in Africa, we have this challenge because we have technology all around us. The question is, how are we leveraging it? How are we leveraging it to learn better? Because of technology now, you don't have to be limited to teachers who are within your geographical area. And you can learn from teachers anywhere in the world. You don't have to be limited to doctors who are within your geographical area. You can actually be diagnosed by doctors anywhere in the world, etc., etc. So, but these kinds of things will only happen when our eyes are opened to the possibilities. We have to be helped to become more aware so that we can make the better choices that will then improve our lives and the lives of our fellow Africans.
Right. So, Dr. Modupe, as we come to a close of this conversation, what would be your rallying call to people who are watching and maybe even the leadership?
Africa needs all of us to be better leaders. And I know that all of us are doing the best job we can today. But the reality is this, that we will be known by our results and the outcomes. And the best leaders in the world are intentional about putting themselves into learning environments on a regular basis. They have executive coaches who support them in thinking through problems and holding themselves accountable. They participate in peer learning groups where they can gain knowledge from peers. They make sure that they read. This is one of your responsibilities as an African leader. And because you are the leader, nobody else can force you to do it. There's no parent who will say, make sure you study. So my charge to you, my fellow African leaders, is to make sure that you are continually filling your bucket of knowledge, skills, networks, and awareness so that you can make the optimal decisions. Because even if you graduate today with the knowledge from the rest of the world about everything, in 10 years, that knowledge will be obsolete if you don't keep learning. And Africans are depending on you to make wise decisions, and you will do that when you put yourself in a learning environment. And I encourage you to come next month to the Made in Africa Leadership Conference on the 12th and 13th, because it will be 2 days of high-impact learning for leaders.
Thank you very much. I think that is a powerful place to end. Keep learning in whatever leadership space you're in. Asante sana. That is Dr. Modupe Taylor-Pierce. He is the Chief Executive Officer at BCA Leadership, and he has been talking about matters leadership and why it matters for Africans to make sure that Africa works for Africans. My name is Betty Kiptum. Thank you for watching.
Many thanks, Betty Kiptum, for that interview. And from that interview, we are crossing over to Njue County, where the Engineers Partnerships Convention is currently taking place from the 7th to the 10th, where, as we speak, the CS for Transport, Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, is currently addressing. Let's first of all listen in.
By the way they are going to dress. So if you find someone who has a faded jeans and some t-shirt or sweater, that is most likely to be an engineer. And the only exception is my PS, Engineer Joseph Mbugwa, who wears very, very good ties. But sometimes, because of his background as an engineer, depending on how he wakes up, and I suspect when the wife is not around, it will come with a tie that calls itself nothing with a shirt and a suit. That is when I know he has become an engineer that day. So the beauty of this profession is the same. So even when we used to have fellowship in University of Nairobi to go to main campus, and we are interacting with the engineers, rarely did the engineers, because of the inward social life, rarely did they try to propose to any lady who was a lawyer. So if you find an engineer who married a lawyer, that's a very daring engineer. And because of that, we were forced as lawyers to marry ourselves in the law school. So thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. 60 years of independence and 60 years of celebrating this profession is not a short period of time. And therefore, it's a signature of our independence. It's important to appreciate that as a country, we have been able to grow to the stage where the entire construction industry, every sector that we need engineers, it is led by Kenyan engineers. I know, like the chair said, and also the president of the World Federation of Engineers spoke, we still have some steps to make when it comes to business, especially when it comes to engaging consulting engineers, when it comes to contractors, that we still have situations where, even though we have very qualified engineers locally, we still have situations where a lot of business still goes to engineers who come from out of the country. We have committed ourselves with PS Mbugwa that we will change that trend, and I had a meeting with the team from the consulting engineers, and the chair is sitting here, and we agreed that we will work towards achieving total compliance. We are ready and willing to also get proposals from the associations who are here, the Federation of Engineers, the consulting engineers, to give us proposals on how we can make sure that there is a higher level of accountability beyond just registering all the practitioners with the Engineers Board of Kenya. Number two, I am extremely impressed with what I saw today with the Semiconductors Technology Limited. And to have such high level investment insofar as science and technology is concerned in this university is a testimony that we are now moving forward as a country to marry education and practice insofar as industry is concerned. I really hope that this is a model that is being replicated in most of the universities across the country, because universities in the world have become what they are because the centers of innovation is not the industry out there, is the industry as established within the university environment. And I was so impressed because the people who took us through the laboratories and the research work that is going on and the innovation that is going on are very, very young people. Very young people. And I was also extremely impressed that it was not just young people, but I think 70 or 80% were young women. And I think that is extremely unique. And I want us to, and I hope that this is something, I wish my colleague, Professor, Honorable Machok was here, but this is something I will make a mention at the cabinet meeting to just say that there is something that is cooking in the universities, and this should be the practice. When I came to office, I insisted that as much as possible, some of the consulting works that is being done by our institutions and within our ministry should also be outsourced to the institutions that work from the university so that our students get an opportunity to learn and to be able to grow. So this is extremely important. We also had a conference last year that involved women contractors and women engineers. And we are going to have a stock-taking meeting this year. And I really hope that the agencies represented here, you made progress concerning the issues we agreed that we want to work towards gender parity in this very sector. Because I am very happy to have Engineer Margaret being a CEO and being a lady CEO, but we want to have more CEOs who are going to run these institutions who are women. I know the men will not clap because those who are in office are fearing that we might change them and replace with women, but also those who are aspiring are worried that this is very important for us. The other issue I'd like to mention is that we are working hard to make sure that the regulation of the engineering sector is done well, and I'm happy also that the Commission of University Education is here, and I am glad that the previous pull and push between Engineers Board of Kenya and the Commission of University Education regarding training of engineers in the university has now been sorted. We should not have a situation, we should never have a situation again where a student is trained for 5 years only to be told that you don't meet the minimum qualification to transist. That should never happen again. In fact, that is an abdication of duty on the part of government, not on the part of the student. Because I know there was a situation where some universities had such challenges, and that should never happen again. We also appreciate the partnership we have with the East Africa community, partner states, and also the support we are getting with the World Federation of Engineers to make sure that our engineers are recognized globally. As a ministry, we support you 100% to make sure that we all accede to the Washington Accord to make sure that our engineers are recognized in their practice globally. And therefore, I have told the chair and the CEO that we will facilitate as a ministry everything you need to make sure that this application is successful. The last part of it is that we are in a very precarious situation as a country. The reality we are facing is that climate change is a real challenge insofar as our existence in the planet Earth is concerned. You've seen the enhanced rains, the floods, and the destruction that ensued as a result of the floods. We have suffered immense destruction of infrastructure, starting with the bridges, the roads, And we are suffering this at a situation where we are also struggling to manage our budget to make sure that we live within our means. We will be sitting down with the road agencies here and the other infrastructure institutions to make sure that we do proper assessment of the situation across the country. And we will call upon all of you as engineers to provide lasting solution and long-term solution insofar as having climate resilient infrastructure across the country. We request you to adhere to the standards that are required, both by your profession but also the law, because we need institutions and we need engineers. I know one engineer who works with Kenya, who was supervising one of our projects in an area that has serious security problems. And sometimes when infrastructure is in such areas, the contractors always cut shortcut because they know that perhaps the minister will not go there, the DG will not go there, or who will not go there. But I'm so impressed by that engineer because when I came to office, and I still want the DG Kenya to make sure that you bring him to my office, that when I came to my office, the contractor was complaining of how the engineer was too strict insofar as the supervision of the standard of the road is concerned. And thanks to that engineer, we have asked the contractor to repeat the works, you know, and to make sure that they get us to the level that we want. We would like all of you as engineers here to maintain the highest standard of professional work. That is why the register of all the engineers is very important under the EBK. It's also important to account for every work that is supervised by a particular engineer so that we know if a building collapses like the one that collapsed yesterday around Kino, we need to know who was the supervising engineer and who approved that building to go to the level. And our NCA are here, and I'm sure they're going to follow up that. So we need to make sure that we are holding professionals into account, the same way we hold lawyers and other professions to account to make sure that. And I'm happy. I had the president of the World Federation of Engineers speak about establishment of specific tribunals that are going to try individuals who are not going to abide by this very important profession, so that we do not have few people messing up the institution of engineers in the country. I know that even when it comes to supervision of works, even when we have given contractors works, like we did for the airport and for the port and for the roads, it's important to know that it is our engineers who must hold those contractors into account. Having said that, sorry, I know we put you under immense pressure because I have His Excellency the President is going to chair a meeting that I should be in the next 1 hour, so I have to also rush. I'm happy to join. This is now the remarks of His Excellency the Deputy President. I don't have a speech today, that's why I have to make off the cuff. So the Deputy President now is speaking, starting now. I'm happy to join you this morning for the 5th, or this afternoon, for the 5th Engineering Partnership Convention. It's always my pleasure to address, interact, and engage with professionals. The theme of this convention, Engineering at 60, Reflections, Response, Resetting, gives you, the participants of this meeting, a moment to look back at the milestones of the profession since independence. It's also time to identify gaps and opportunities to re-engineer the engineering strategy of contributing to the socio-economic transformation of Kenya and the region. Africa is not the continent of the future. Africa is the continent of today. Esteemed engineers, ladies and gentlemen, we hold this convention when our country is deep in climate crisis. All sectors of our economy have been put to test. The structural integrity of our infrastructure, buildings, roads, bridges, among others, has been violated by the enhanced rains. The collapse of infrastructure, similar to what happened during El Nino last year, has brought the engineering profession into a sharp focus. Climate change is real. Climate change is challenging us not to invent for the future, but to invest and innovate for today and for posterity. Integration of climate-smart innovation, therefore, is a priority for this convention. We must harness the collaboration and partnership in redefining the various subsectors of engineering to meet the demands of changing times, offering unquestionable safety and security. From the exhibition here today, there is promising potential that will propel us to the next level of development. Distinguished engineers, ladies and gentlemen, while we have a robust laws and policies stipulating what must be covered in training, some universities have continued offering courses not approved by the Engineering Board of Kenya. It's a waste of resource as the graduates will not be certified as required. We congratulate the Engineering Board of Kenya for the planned bridging for the graduates, but a sustainable solution on accreditation of courses lies in a joint re-evaluation and detailed discussion with learning institutions to align training to industry-focused skills. This needs to be done in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Commission of University Education, while involving the relevant professional bodies and the stakeholders. Universities must also be ready to match their capacity demands to meet the course-specific requirements. Quality of our engineering training must be beyond reproach. Ladies and gentlemen, we are concerned that quacks have raided our professions, including the engineering profession. They masquerade as professionals. In this regard, I would like to throw a challenge to the engineering regulator. They need to work with other agencies in exposing such people for prosecution. They are not only intruders to the trade, but also criminals putting lives at risk. These esteemed engineers should also apply to colleagues delivering substandard work that puts the safety of machines, buildings, other infrastructure and installation into question. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons for low quality work is leasing of services by qualified engineers who do not show up to inspect and supervise projects. Endemic corruption and wanting integrity are other concerns. This convention needs to identify the gaps in regulation of training as well as enforcement of laws in practice. We need to nab the quacks and corrupt officials in the entire network to protect the image of the distinguished profession and the professionals. We are delivering the profession and professionals who are delivering above board. In the same breath, engineering professionals and fiscal planners regulatory bodies must strictly adhere and enforce the relevant national and international civil and structural designs and construction standards. Herein, we are joined by legislators and key policymakers. The legislators of our country are ready to work with you in strengthening the relevant framework. We can also borrow and domesticate good practices from other professions and on self-regulation and discipline of those who do not abide by the regulation. Ladies and gentlemen, the engineering profession and engineers remain central and strategic to our nation. That is why we must continually explore ways of developing their profession. One of such ways is for relevant agencies such as the National Construction Authority, National Environmental Authority, to plow back for development of the engineering profession. Such a kit may facilitate advanced training and other capacity strengthening initiatives. I also dare say it includes also the road agencies and other agencies within the transport sector. As we strive to raise standards even higher, it's critical to nurture aspiring and upcoming engineers. It is a sustainable and sure way of growing their profession. I'm excited to know that you are big on mentorship. Your program of 450 students under mentorship is a game changer. With less than 20% of women in engineering, this is an opportunity to bring in more of them into their profession. As a strong believer in youth mentorship, I congratulate the engineers here for this very important initiative. Congratulations for that. The Kenya Kwanza plan of transforming our nation under President William Ruto heavily relies on engineers and engineering. From the affordable housing program, manufacturing, agriculture, the digital economy, among others, we have confidence that you have a place to plug in your contribution. With evolving technology, we are staring at a big leap into artificial intelligence, which has registered efficiency and effectiveness in countries that are more advanced. We have no reason to wait and consume innovations of other people, with engineering admitting the best of best into university. We have an equal opportunity to invent and show the world that Kenya is the epicenter of innovation in the continent. In this convention, we have a moment to interact, network, and form formidable teams. These teams will propel our mission of integrating invaluable innovation into development. The Ruto administration looks forward to full support of engineers for informed decisions in various projects leading to a transformed Kenya. At this note, I thank the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology, agencies and partners for making this event a reality. I wish you fruitful deliberations as we wait for the outcome of the convention for action. It is now my pleasure to declare the 5th Engineering Partnership Convention officially open. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Guest, CS. I request that we all be upstanding. In the morning, we did not play the anthems, a few hitches here and there, but would now that the convention has been declared open, let's stand up and have the anthems played. Thank you. We can be seated. Chief Guest, just one more duty for you before you.
Very well, that has been the official launch of the Engineering Partnership Convention live from Njue County. The official launch, the event did begin yesterday, but the official launch today by Transport CS Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen. And maybe to steal a few words that he has mentioned is that he has acknowledged the effects the climate change has had on infrastructure. We've seen bridges and roads also washed up. He has talked about changing the trend where individuals and corporates sometimes opt for engineers from outside the country, but now says that he will indeed look into that matter, and also has rallied different stakeholders, and including women, to seize the opportunities in engineering, not forgetting the youth. A more comprehensive report, we have Ray Manyara, my colleague there, who was keeping tabs with that. That convention will end on 10th of this month. But in other news, live stream shopping, where buyers and sellers transact through real-time video, is growing in the United States, popularized by e-commerce sites like Alibaba and TikTok's sister company, Douyin. After dominating the retail scene in China, TikTok and Amazon say they have advanced technology in place to stop merchants from selling fake goods. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across other parts of the world.
TikTok monitors live video with a mix of algorithms and humans, while Amazon uses humans to monitor live stream shopping. Some lawyers say the brands that represent use machine learning software to search e-commerce platforms for possible infringement in pictures, product description, and advertisements, but live videos bring added challenges. Artificial intelligence and algorithms can currently spot still images and texts that infringe on brands' copyright and trademarks. In relation to that, some third-party software vendors have currently teamed up with TikTok Shop by sharing information about suspected counterfeiters. Meanwhile, BMW expects a slight drop in pre-tax profits this year due to higher research and development, manufacturing personnel costs, with a decrease in used car prices also contributing to the decline. The automaker reported a fall in its first quarter profit margin in its automotive segment as persistently higher cost weighed on its bottom line and demand for luxury cars in China remained muted. Nevertheless, BMW is investing heavily in electric vehicles and model revamps across its lineups and expects recon spending this year, up from 7.5 billion euros last year. Finally, Shell has agreed to sell its refinery and petrochemicals assets in Singapore. The transaction will transfer of Shell's interest in Shell's Energy and Chemical Park Singapore to the joint venture company. Subject to regulatory approval, the transaction is expected to complete by the end of 2024. The source plan is to reduce company's carbon footprint and focus its operations on the most profitable businesses.
In sports, Bundesliga giants Borussia Dortmund are through to the finals of the UEFA Champions League after overcoming Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 at Parc des Princes last night. Dortmund proceed to the finals for the first time since 2013 with a 2-0 goal aggregate win.
Borussia Dortmund took advantage of a corner to net the lone winner through Hummels in the 50th minute. The hosts thought they had been awarded a chance to level the scores through a penalty when Italian referee Daniele Osrato pointed to the spot, only for it to be ruled out. The hosts thought they had been awarded a chance to level the scores through a penalty when Italian referee Daniele Osrato pointed to the spot, only for it to be ruled out. PSG, who have never won the European title, had no choice but to bow out after being frustrated by Borussia Dortmund.
What a performance, Alan, to celebrate for. Oh, man.
Very well, that's all the time we had for KBC Lunchtime News this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We are keeping tabs with the proceeds at the county hall where the hearing of the Linturi impeachment is currently underway. We're also keeping tabs with the current situation, that is the flood situation in the country. So check out our social media platforms for this news plus much more. Of course, we have more news in our subsequent bulletin. My name is Njue. Lensa Odingo has been our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. On behalf of everyone who has made this broadcast a success, you have yourself a blessed afternoon.
The Ministry of Roads and Transport, in conjunction with the Engineers Board of Kenya, EBK, will be hosting the 5th Engineering Partnerships Convention 2024 from May